Attorney of Wyandotte County. Upon last week, I had the honor of speaking to the Unified Government Commission, at which point we requested $1.7 million to assist in reviewing Galewski files. Our files in the Wyandotte County District Attorney's Office prior to 2007 were all paper and have been all stored in the old jail in a extremely hazardous situation, one by which is not searchable and is indeed unorganized. Nevertheless, since 2017, since this administration came into office at the beginning of that year, and having first been encountering Lamont McIntyre in his case, it was through that nearly year-long investigation and process that we then found that there were multiple concerns with the detective on Mr. McIntyre's case, Roger Galewski. Once the court found that there was manifest injustice that ultimately showed in the court that Mr. McIntyre should receive a new trial, my office then dismissed his case, at which point he was then released. From the moment Mr. McIntyre was released in 2017, my office has reviewed Galewski files. We have gone upstairs to this hazardous jail, and we have looked for files, and we have received cases through our conviction integrity unit with Roger Galewski's name. And since then, we have continued to review his cases to the extent that we could find his files. I say that to make sure that it is evident that since 2017, this administration has been reviewing these files based off of the McIntyre investigation. But we went further. We reached out to the Department of Justice, we reached out to the FBI, we reached out to the Kansas Bureau of Investigation, and ultimately, we reached out to the U.S. Attorney for the state of Kansas to ask them to review Lamont McIntyre's case, as well as concerns that we had with Mr. Galewski. In 2018, the FBI at that time could not, for whatever reason, take those cases. We then gave it to the Kansas Bureau of Investigation. That director was willing to review the cases and our concerns. We did not ask KCKPD to review them at that time because at that time the chief of police was Roger Galewski's former partner. So we went with the Kansas Bureau of Investigation. After a year or so of that investigation, we were then able to speak and meet again with the FBI and the then serving Kansas U.S. Attorney McAllister, who then was able to take on that investigation. And then they received all of the information, all of the files that we as the District Attorney's Office had given to the Kansas Bureau of Investigation to investigate Roger Galewski. Let's speed up. That is where we are now. After that investigation, the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office, through its hard work, was able to indict Roger Galewski. This is something that the District Attorney's Office was hoping for and did our part in since 2017. It should also be noted that it wasn't until 2021 when Chief Oakman came into play that the cooperation from the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department was able to happen with the FBI. Information was not passed along, the investigation was stunted, and this department was not cooperative with that investigation until Chief Oakman got into place. Once Chief Oakman was able to get in here, the investigation began to make strides because information then was free flowing. As such, that is why we will, once receiving the $1.7 million, review every file that has Golubski's name on it. Not just the time that he was detective, but any case that has his name on it. This software will allow us to see it and to review it up on it being scanned in. We will finalize that funding tomorrow night at the commission meeting, rather afternoon at 4 o'clock in the commission chambers for a special session for that to be passed. Once we review those cases through our conviction integrity unit, we are asking as a part of that funding for an additional attorney to assist in that reviewing, as well as an additional victims advocate to assist in meeting and speaking with the victims on these cases, as they have a statutory right to know what's going on and how these reviews are occurring. Once all of that is passed, we will begin our legal process that will allow us to determine if there was a substantial concern or if there was not enough evidence in some of these cases. If that is the situation, I will then reach out to the chief to further collaborate as they will be doing their own investigation and we will be doing ours. It's also important to note that Roger Golubski was not just an officer at the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department, but after retiring here, he was a detective with the Edwardsville Police Department for 5 years, which also was within our jurisdiction, and so our office will be reviewing his cases there as well. What we have been asking for this unified government to give us the funding to do this work. In 2018, we asked for these files to be digitized because, again, we had just finished our investigation with Lamont McIntyre, and we desired to review those cases. Those funds at that time was denied. Here we are in 2022. Not only do we have a new chief who is willing and is doing his best to work, but we also have a new mayor who has constantly supported the desire to get the funds so that we can do our part for justice. We have a different posture with our commission, all at this point who are willing to do whatever it takes to bring about justice. And so I want to make sure that it's clear that not only is the administration from the mayor's administration and its commission, but likewise under Chief Oakman and his new administration, they have had and continue to work for justice since the time that they have gone into office and work collaboratively with this administration and the Wyandotte County District Attorney's Office. And neither of the folks before us that held the positions before we did fought for the justice that we're fighting for now. At this time, Mayor Gardner.